Hello, guys. Welcome back to the 8 Syndicate's hit list. I'm Anubhav, and with me is.
Hi, I'm Omkar.
And Achyuth is continents away pursuing his master's in Germany, and we hope he'll join us again soon. That's the reason we've been off air for a bit as we were trying to figure out our busy schedules to deliver you this podcast. But since it's spooky season, we've got a veritable, delicious listicle of a podcast ready for you. And Omkar and I are going to talk about our experiences with horror, and we're going to recommend some films that you can watch this Halloween. So, Omkar, like, what's your relationship to horror? What's your horror origin story?
I would say there isn't one because horror is one of my least preferred or watched genres in movies. It probably sprouts from a place where, as a kid, watching movies was a family activity where my
Huh.
parents didn't really want to take me to go see a horror movie. Mostly because back in the day, most of these horror movies were also filled up with the horniest plots ever. Probably
Yeah,
something
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't want your kids to see. And probably a few incidents in my childhood which pretty much scarred me. There was a TV show back in the day called Woe, and it's blatantly copied from Stephen
It's
King's
from
It.
it.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And this show basically has a clown who's
It's a blatant rip-off of it. I know about this.
but a 4-year-old Omkar remembers seeing a small clown walking through laughing menacingly, which scared the shit out of me. Like, I did not go to circuses after that for a while. And that defined horror for me as a kid, where my mom would just be like, Wo aa jayega. And I would be like, holy shit, I'm not watching this tonight. I didn't really grow up watching a lot of horror as such. And now that I'm an adult, I really feel my life or what the world around me makes of my life is horror enough that when I actually go to watch a horror movie, I really like it to be chilled out. I'm just happy with a killer slashing everyone or someone making a satirical joke about it. So that's really where I lean towards when I say horror.
For me, as a Bengali, I think you are born with horror in your ears because all our folk tales and our stories, everyone has a ghost story to talk about. But my relationship with horror films, I guess it properly began with. So I had seen E.T. the Extraterrestrial because I was even at the tender age of like 4. I was a big Spielberg fan. I was trying to watch everything he'd made. So we got a bunch of VCDs free with the VCD player, and one of the films was called Alien. So I put on Alien,
Nice.
and I'm watching it, and it's boring as fuck. Like nothing's happening, and then they go to a planet, and then that fucking thing springs out and attaches to someone's face, and I'm like, this is nothing like E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Where is the friendship? Where are the flying bicycles? This is not it. And then he starts spasming. Then the fucking thing comes out of his chest, and I jump behind
Crazy.
my sofa. And that's my introduction to horror cinema. It's traumatic. It's like I have a sense memory of watching that. And because of that experience, I used to avoid horror films like the plague, like anything remotely scary, I'd just go away. But I don't know, at around some point when I was 12 or something, I started getting into found footage horror films quite a bit. Your Blair
Blair
Witch or
Witch.
your Paranormal Activity. And I just went full tilt into horror, your Japanese horror like Ringo and all that hardcore shit. The right horror film is like a comfort movie for me. I mean, I have seen not Exorcist. Exorcist is not a comfort movie. It's the one rare horror film that is very uncomfortable. But sometimes I put on like Conjuring to just chill, or Insidious. Even something like The Witch is borderline. But yeah, like horror is a good companion for me. I want to make a distinction. Like, I feel horror films, regardless of the subgenre, you can sort of slot them into two categories. One is fun horror and horror, like
Right.
Halloween films with Mike Myers, they are fun horror. A lot of the slasher films are fun horror. A lot of giallo films, which are these Italian horror films, are fun horror. Conjuring is fun horror. Insidious is fun horror. But Hereditary is not a film you will have fun watching it. It just makes you fucking miserable. Exorcist is a feel bad movie. because like if you really watch it properly, like if you really intuit it, then it's like a hopeless film. Like
Mhm.
nothing works against this demonic force. It's funny, like Ari Aster's filmography is like not fun horror. These
Right.
are two distinctions, and I feel like you can't enjoy like these not fun horror as a group. So basically, my thing is that Halloween films fall on the fun horror side. Halloween is supposed to be a jaunty festival, it's
Hmm.
supposed to be fun. With that in mind, I have my recommendations, and I think even your recommendations will sort of slot into the more fun horror Halloween recommendations.
Hopefully, but I have come up with recommendations I guarantee would be fun watching with folks and people around you. And it'll be
Hmm.
still nice for a get together on a Halloween night. Before we jump in,
Okay.
any spooky stuff that you've come across?
I do. I mean, my house was kind of haunted, but I don't really want to tell that story because it was haunted by someone I know. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think right now I know the difference between a haunted house and a not haunted house. Like
Hmm.
the feeling is completely different. When you've been in that atmosphere, you don't know that you're in that atmosphere until that atmosphere goes away, right? We had a sort of a cleansing,
Hmm.
and literally the atmosphere felt completely different. There is a room I wouldn't want to go in during the day.
Hmm.
I have turned my lights off and chilled in that room as of yesterday. The difference is that stark.
Wow.
Yeah, so like now I know how it feels, and I have seen an apparition, but I'll just keep it to that. So I know how ghosts look.
Okay. I am definitely not doing a scary movie night at your place.
Oh no,
Unless it's.
it's perfectly fine now. It's perfectly fine now. I actually stopped watching horror movies on my TV in case those guys are taking notes.
Of
Then
course.
yeah. Then now I watch this shit all the time. So, do you have a spooky story?
I do have one, something my friend told me a long time ago. My friend's family, his extended family, lives somewhere in Goa. That's their native place. And his uncle and his aunt
So
were.
Konkani.
Probably you're right. They are Konkani. One specific night, they were driving from Goa to Mumbai, and this is probably more than 10, 15 years ago. So, our highways, while we have a fantastic one right now, not so good back in the day. So, you would have to end up taking a lot of smaller state highways, smaller routes. And for some reason, they were traveling in the night. So it was pretty dark. A lot of these streets do not have any kind of lights. The only thing that's keeping you on the streets is your car headlights and showing you the way. At one point, as they were going from one of the smaller routes, it's a pretty bad road. A lot of, I won't say potholes, but just unkept roads. Not the best place to drive.
So this was like during the 90s, 2000s.
I believe late 90s. And imagine they had like an old Maruti something. So the car is also not
Yeah.
great with the suspension and whatnot. The car itself can spook you out for no reasons. But here they are in a very spooky setting. So the uncle's driving, and on the passenger seat, the aunt's chilling, kind of keeping him company. So she says at one point in their journey, the uncle's eyes widen up and he's rashly driving on this lonely road in the night. Not so good. So the car's really bumpy, shaking everywhere, scares the shit out of her. But she keeps looking at him with him being in a very different trance. She's unsure if she should really say something, touch him, get him out of it.
Okay, so
She's
he went into a trance kind of thing.
yeah, his eyes went wide and he's just fully locked in into the car, driving and going through it. Now, both of them kind of being from the local area had heard stories about things going wrong on these foresty
Hmm.
roads in the night. So she stayed shut, and apparently they came out of this specific smaller highway onto the main road eventually, and the uncle seemed to have relaxed all of a sudden and he's back to normal. So she looks up to him and narrates her incident. She's like, I was really scared. What happened to you? And he started crying, looking back at her and saying, that whole route, you were not sitting there. It was another woman whose hair was covering all of her face. And all she says was,
Oh,
keep driving fast. Yeah, I guess with
oh.
Goa highways, there are too many scary stories, but this stuck with me.
I kind of have a theory about all these like characters on highways, and
Hmm.
they're often described in the same way, like long hair. Sometimes they have like pointy ears and all that. because there are similar stories about some place in North India had a similar story about a guy who picked up some hitchhikers, and the hitchhikers they started changing their shape and all that. The thing is, these stories are very similar to the stories of the fairy in Irish and North
Right.
England folklore.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if there is some like commonality in, like in species or something like that. Yeah, maybe it's not ghosts, maybe it's like some other community, I would say. I don't even know if you can class them as species.
It's mostly the truck drivers whose gutka finishes off, and then they are going into, like, they're just missing their gutka and they're seeing apparitions here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
My first Halloween recommendation is, well, it's a bunch of films. It's all the films of this Bangladeshi director called Nuhash Humayun. He's well known among a niche of horror fans who are into South Asian horror or who are just seeking different stuff. But the best display of his talents is this anthology called Pet Kata Shaw. And I believe it's streaming on a platform called Hoichoi.
What does that translate to? Because I could only hear cutting a stomach.
No, it doesn't mean cutting a stomach. There's an alphabet in the Bengali language that is basically the sh. It's sort of cut through the middle, and that changes the tone of it. It's like a mood thing. It doesn't really mean anything. But it sounds ominous, right?
Yeah, it does.
It sounds kind of killer. It sort of deals with Bengali folk horror, the sort of horror stories, ghost stories that we grew up hearing. Because it's in Bangladesh, they grew up hearing like different stories as well. So there are four stories actually. The first story is about basically a sort of a fish ghoul that enters a guy's apartment and he has to prepare the best fish he's ever prepared and feed it to the ghoul, otherwise the ghoul will eat him.
Oh, wow.
It's scary as fuck, dude.
Is it called Machar Ghul?
No. The first one is called Women Are Not Allowed in This Building.
Ah.
It's a bachelor's apartment, and the ghoul that appears is a female ghoul. So
Hmm.
so she sort of dispatches his flatmates, and it's up to him to prepare the fish and basically do a very womanly role to sort of tame the monster.
Nice.
But it's really scary because it makes it a very tense, like it's just filled to the brim with tension if he's preparing the fish right. And it keeps on cutting back to the ghoul who is really scary looking.
Hmm.
This is executed really well, and it's like a terrific opening salvo. The next one is Mishti Kichu, which means something sweet. Basically, among Muslim communities, it is said that you shouldn't keep your sweet shop open till late night. Otherwise, a jinn will come and, be attracted to those sweets and he'll come
Oh.
and have some sweets. There is a famous place in Muhammad Ali Road. There is one sweet shop whose name escapes me. Like, there is a rumor that jinns apparently prefer the sweets of that shop. It's a thing among Muslim communities about sweet shops and jinns. But basically, this is about a sweet shop owner who's like kind of a dumbass, and he's kept his sweet shop open till late night. That basically beckons a sort of a limping jinn to come to his sweet shop, and in exchange for sweets, he gives the guy a bone because he's a jinn.
Mm.
So grants like one of his wishes. The guy asks for unending infinitesimal knowledge. Obviously, it backfires, but then the horror aspect comes when you sort of slowly realize through the clues like which jinn the jinn actually is.
Oh.
So
Oh, I see what you mean.
yeah.
Interesting. At least till the two stories you mentioned, like, it's not jump scares or anything as such, but it's really.
No, it's like it's atmospheric, but
Hmm.
it's the thing is the stories are so intriguing that you're like really into it.
Hmm.
None of these are like jump scares. Maybe the first one is a little bit jump scary because of, like just her face appearing and shit like that.
Right.
I do not like jump scary
I
things
agree.
in general. I like things that have an atmosphere, which these have, and which I think draws me to this director's work.
Hmm.
The next one in the anthology, it used to be my favorites, but I rewatched and it sort of went down a notch. It's called People Say. Like how people just say you shouldn't clip your nails after dark.
Right.
you shouldn't like have your hair out.
Cut your hair on a Saturday.
Yeah, stuff like that. This couple, they go to a village where the villagers say that we are the origins of all these superstitions and myths.
Hmm.
They start telling stories about why these myths are there. Each story is about this certain incident and they're played out using sort of puppets.
Mhm.
So these puppets, they play out these stories.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it gets pretty scary towards the end when one of the characters from one of the stories returns in the film and one of the superstitions comes true.
That's creepy.
So yeah. The final one is one that I've never really like been a big fan of. It's called Nishi Duck. Basically, like it's a sound from the ocean.
Hmm.
It's about like a depressed guy and he hears the call of the ocean and something possesses him. It's like whatever. I'm not that enthused, but there's a sequel to the Pate Kata Shaw which has pretty good material.
Hmm.
Basically, I think anything this director makes is interesting to watch. I haven't seen his short film that went on to win a lot of awards and got the eyes of Riz Ahmed, which is called Foreigners Only. I haven't seen that yet.
Hmm.
But I have seen his Moshari, which is Mosquito Net. I think that is easily available, and it's about these two sisters facing off against basically a vampire.
Ooh.
Basically, this director, he's a master of atmosphere and he's a master of weaving intriguing stories. And he is one of those gifted storytellers that you wish for at every campfire.
Nice.
Yeah, who can sort of just draw you in with their spooky story.
Mm.
He's one of the bright stars from like this subcontinent. Let's see what he does next. On his Instagram, he's really fond of his mother, so maybe he'll explore that next.
Interesting. This reminds me, like, especially you saying Campfire and this being an anthology movie,
Hmm.
the classic Bollywood movie that
Darna Mana Hai Ring. Yeah.
I really enjoy the idea of anthology movies because you don't need to captivate an audience for the whole 1.5 hours with your story, while your stories can be really impactful in a short form itself. And at the same time, it's a very good reason to just collaborate with multiple directors and artists to get these things come to life.
I honestly think like horror sustains itself well in the short form because that's why there are a lot of great horror anthologies like
Mm-hmm.
VHS is one and even Masters of Horror used to be and obviously the Ram Gopal Varma anthologies that you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
all that. Just a quick shout out on Halloween. A movie is coming out from Malayalam cinema called Dies Irae. It's called Day of Wrath. I'm just giving it a quick shout out because I think the director is one of the best horror filmmakers working in the country. And the trailer just came out and it looks fucking amazing. Like they've been drip feeding out the trailers. The first trailer had no supernatural elements. The second trailer had a few supernatural elements. And the third trailer, it ends with the final shot is a corpse. We are on that corpse, and then the corpse blinks
Oof.
and they end the trailer. It looks amazing.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm really hyped for that.
Think kind of sticking to your ideas of folklore and just you mentioned a Malayalam movie, I'm gonna probably start my recommendation the movie called Romancham, which is a 2023 Malayalam movie directed by Jeetu Madhavan. Now, for me, as I mentioned earlier, I really love horror comedies. Like zombie movies are something I absolutely love simply because while they can be creepy and annoying, there's always a small element of people messing up, leading to some amount of errors, a good amount of comedy around it. Things like Zombieland, the old Dawn of the Dead, I have not seen the new one, Shaun of the Dead as well, are something I just absolutely enjoy. Even something like Cabin in the Wood, which just takes a lot of different stories together, puts them together, and just makes a nice, funny horror movie, is something I would enjoy watching. Coming down to Romancham, basically what we see in this movie is we're introduced to a group of bachelors who are very fun-loving folks living in the same house. It's like a standalone bungalow. There's 6 of them. We see the movie starting with them partying hard, just dancing. We kind of get introduced to each one of them and their small quirks. They're usual bachelors, like one guy's lazy, unemployed, does not do the floors, does not do the dishes.
Usual bachelor shit.
Yeah, someone's really mad at him. That leads to some small quarrels here and there. But they always kind of, come together. There's one guy who's an entrepreneur and he's really trying out his luck in different businesses. His latest business endeavor is selling toilet seats, commodes. The house is filled up with these boxes of commodes. It's a bachelor's house, so they don't really have seats to sit down. So they're using commodes at places to just.
Oh. Yeah, that's a funny visual.
Yeah, it's like a prop that just exists throughout the movie. Most of these folks that they show are very much. They just kind of show them to be pretty useless as human beings. Bachelors in their 20s, there is some hints of addiction. Someone's addicted to gutka, someone's addicted to smoking, drinking, of course. So all of these elements come in, but initially it's all shown in a very nice, lovely way. In all of this, there is only one of their friends who's actually employed and not single, has a girlfriend. But he stays separately. He stays in the same house, but there's a smaller room or a section on the first floor. Overall, they all love each other, take care of each other. Like they're cooking food for each other. There's a very nice scene where when the lazy guy doesn't wash things up, they all come together and pretty much flood the house. We make sure that everything gets washed. Good humor, good jokes. There's a sense of community between them.
I just saw like Sobin Shahir is in it. He's kind of a big name in Malayalam cinema now after doing Manjumal Boys and Coolie, the Rajnikant film. He was one of the villains.
Shobin plays this guy named Jibin, but they call him Jibby. And he's pretty much the main character. Like a lot of what we see in the movie is through his POV. So these folks are cooking together, eating together. They love playing volleyball together. But Jibby, Shobin's character, doesn't enjoy volleyball for some reason. He enjoys carom instead. So he's convincing his friends to like let go of their activities, come play with him, but they never do. So one of the days when all of this is happening, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go hang out with some of my other friends. So he goes to some other friend's house, and at that house, they have an Ouija board out, and they are just asking it questions. And he learns about an Ouija board over there. He learns some of the rules about Ouija board, and he gets really excited. Comes home, tells his friends now, hey, we should be doing this instead. But they don't care. Like they really just put him off, saying, no, you're bullshitting. Eventually, ironically, it's Diwali. Everyone's celebrating outside, doing firecrackers, increasing the local AQI, whatnot.
Diwali is very close to Halloween, so
Very much. So,
makes sense.
totally.
Yeah.
Even if it keeps moving around, never leaves Halloween alone. So, yes. So, JB this time around, to make sure that he's able to, get the right attention from his friends, gets out his carom board and erases everything on top of it, all the markings over it, and makes a huge Ouija board on the carom board so that he is able to accommodate all his 6 friends to come play with him. So after they're done celebrating their small version of Diwali, they're like, let's sit together and play around. One of the guys who lives by himself on the first floor, he's called Riven, but he showed like one of the only sensible folks who's kind of gotten out of this everyday bachelor life and trying to kind of make things right for himself. So he's like, no, this is too much for me. We cannot do this. And this is a very pivotal scene because they want to do Ouija in that room. They remove every single deity or resemblance of a deity from that room or from that floor, and they move all of this onto the first floor's room, and they start doing Ouija, and nothing really happens like the first time around. There's a very nice scene where JB and one of the other friends, they just kind of eye lock into each other, and they're like, nothing's gonna happen, let's just fuck around. So they start moving whatever their piece on Ouija board is to start making shit up, and it just leads into a night of fun, and everyone enjoys it. And then all of a sudden this just starts becoming a nightly ritual where they all come together, have their dinner, and sit down with the Ouija board. Soon this spreads outside the house. Like they tell their friends, they tell their friends, and there is a plethora of folks just coming over to witness this. This goes on for a while. Now, one of the rules that they describe for Ouija boards is never ask the spirits any personal questions. And that specific day, they do ask a personal question. This time around, JB does not actively try to push around, but things move. They get answers, and they get rather accurate answers. And then we see some more scenes where random folks come in, ask weird questions, and they start getting answers no one really knows are true. And this starts spooking them out. And this actually leads to a intense scare into the house of what they should be doing, what they should not be doing, fights among themselves. Nothing too crazy, but this also leads to them having paranoia, start seeing things here and there. Great comic scenes with some amount of jump scares, but in the right comical format to kind of experience it. But after this enters a new character named Sinu. Sinu, played by Arjun Ashokan.
He's also been in Brahma Yugam, which is by Rahul Siddhasavan.
Another fantastic horror movie, I guess.
Yeah, I think he was the lead. Good career he's building up.
Definitely. So Sinu comes in, and basically Sinu has been involved in the kidnapping. He was kidnapped some days ago, and he's returned home. And ever since he's returned home, he's not really been himself. So his family is worried. They're like, "Hey, why don't you go hang out with your friends for a while?" So he's a friend of Jibby's, so he comes over, and he's been staying with these folks. And whatever this guy has gone through, he's definitely has some amount of trauma in him. He's talking to random things. He's talking to pictures in the house. The way they introduce Sinu is he directly goes to the first floor and starts talking to the idols of Krishna and Jesus over there, as they've moved all the deities up there. Very airy overall, really good acting by him throughout the movie. He will make you feel that something's wrong with him. But yeah, he's definitely one of the creepiest characters, and this leads to more revelations around the Ouija, the Atma that they have called upon, and a lot of history around their house. The movie is totally worth watching. I will not spoil anything more around after this. One of my favorite things is there's a rat infestation in the house. You start seeing a lot of rats.
Oh.
They start keeping a lot of rat poisons around, and then the guy's like, "Hey, what should I do with this rat?" And they just like throw it out, and they're like, "That's not a good idea." So they start making a small rat graveyard right next to their house. And by the end of the movie, it's a proper graveyard. Like there are tons of rats just buried in there.
Oh shit.
It's hilarious. But I think overall the movie has themes of friendship, escapism, and addiction. I feel even their addiction to Ouija board and what it does to their life. Any kind of spooky visuals or representations in the movie, they kind of revolve a lot around addiction or letting go of the addiction things that you kind of come across. So overall, a funny movie where you probably can keep your brain aside and enjoy it. But if you want to dig deeper into it, there's definitely nice messages hidden deep in there.
I haven't seen this film. How are the scares? Like, are they impactful? Like, are they scary?
Some of them are really creepy. Probably one or two jump scares, but they kind of tend towards the comical side. But some of the scares are creepy, like historical revelations around maybe who this Atma around them is.
Oh.
The way it gets revealed is really creepy. So it's scary in the right senses while keeping it funny.
Yeah, this sounds like a perfect Halloween film. It sounds like a party film pretty much, like a Halloween party film. Have you ever used a Ouija board?
No. Probably wouldn't, but
No, I don't recommend it. We made like a silly paper Ouija board and tried something, and weird shit happened.
Oof.
I don't know.
My mom told me some Ouija board stories from her time as a teenager. She's pretty much scared of everything.
Yeah.
But she tells me an experience where her sister went to her friend's home, they did Ouija, and she comes home really scared, and she probably was traumatized for like a few days after that, where she wasn't talking properly. So no clue what really happened, but left a bad taste in the whole family since.
No, when we did it right, of course, I thought that it's not real. None of this shit is gonna happen. We had all the lights off. You know, you do that experiment in chemistry class where you have a test tube of hydrogen and you bring it near a flame. And if you open the test tube of hydrogen, the flame just sparks up, right?
Yeah.
We had that happen.
Whoa.
And then we are like, okay, spirits, goodbye, go away, fuck off. And then we turned on the lights and we saw that all the doors of the cupboard that were closed were open.
Oh my god.
And the thing is, you don't know what's talking with you at the other end of it.
Yeah.
So it's better not to mess with this shit. But I like the idea of the Ouija board as a cinematic device in so many films and everything.
No doubt.
Like, which sort of reminds me of a recent film called Talk to Me. Have you seen it?
No.
In that, sculpture of a hand is basically a Ouija board.
Oh, interesting.
In Talk to Me, basically they communicate with the spirits in turns like they were taking hits of a bong. It's sort of like that. So same vibe. So the next recommendation that I have is a film that is more than 100 years old. It's called Haxan or Haksan. You can actually find it easily on YouTube since nobody really owns it. It's a film by Danish filmmaker Benjamin Christensen. I think it's the first film that's about witches. And the thing is, when I watched this film, I have seen films from this era. I have seen Nosferatu, I have seen the Golem, the Fritz Lang films, and all that. So I had certain expectations. This shattered all of these expectations because it's the only difference between this and something like an A24 Robert Eggers film is that it's not in color and it's silent. But this has some really gnarly visuals. I was rewatching bits of it. Some of it is still creepy, but as far as horror imagery goes, I think this is something beautiful. If you know about Francisco Goya, the Spanish painter, and he had his black period where he was just doing dark and occultish paintings of witches and
Mm.
sabbats, it evokes a lot of Goya. I haven't even talked about what the film is about, but basically, it's like an essay film, which is a weird thing to bring to a horror themed episode, but it's an essay on witches.
Hmm.
It's a treatise on witches, and it dramatizes two incidents of witches, and it sort of contextualizes the mania of witches and how it is relevant in our modern society. So, what about the filmmaker? He seems like a very progressive guy. So the way he recontextualizes witches is as sort of misunderstood women who probably needed mental health
Hmm.
because they are under patriarchy, they didn't receive it. Basically, he posits that the notion of witches is basically a way for men to control women.
Interesting.
That's his theory of the film. But the film also dramatizes two incidents. I mean, the film is a rational essay, but the stories that it tells are rife with the supernatural. One of the stories is about how a woman gets accused of being a witch, and she confesses, yes, I am a witch. Here is what me and my witch bitches get up to. And it's about how they go on their broomsticks and then they meet the demons, and all this stuff is rendered beautifully and very creepily and with a lot of glee. You can feel them joyously depicting a lot of blasphemous events.
Hmm.
And you know what? For a 100-year-old movie, it's aged really well. There is a slight twinge of goofiness, but you're okay with it. It compensates it with for some really creepy imagery. So this one story, it talks about the supposed experience of a witch. Then, because of this witch trial, an entire household basically gets implicated as witches, and they show that how it's just basically an arm of the patriarchy, just ruining women. There is another main story. It's about a nun who starts committing blasphemous acts, goaded on by a demon.
Hmm.
So the imagery of the demon is really like it feels modern. If you see medieval depictions of demons, you will see that they have tongues that are wriggling out.
Right.
The only place where it's not aged 100% is that they keep on showing demons with their wagging tongues. So it's very clownish in that way. The imagery of the demon is haunting, and haunting by like 2025 standards.
Oh wow. But it's a guy in a mask.
It's a guy in like makeup, yeah. No different from like your Insidious.
Hmm.
This movie, like, it moves really fast. It's not cut very languidly. It feels really modern in that way. It feels like a movie that is sort of ahead of its time. But yeah, it's also an essay film, but you're never bored by it. It has like a jump scare that really got me. And I couldn't believe that a fucking 100-year-old film had a jump scare that got me. It's like a Heston Blumenthal dish, you know?
Hmm.
Like you think you're gonna eat vegetables, but you're getting like ice cream instead. It's like one of those films. It's free on YouTube. Put it on, watch it, watch it with friends. The glee and the horror that is evoked by this film will carry over to you, I'm sure.
I have a question. So I was recently watching like movies made back in the early 70s, and my biggest
Yeah,
technical issue with the movie was the way the sound was produced in it.
yeah.
And I feel sound's a huge part of a movie, especially a horror movie. Do you think this movie has anything in that order? Or is it somewhere that they've made something without the sound and it's still good on its own?
I honestly think film can be told without music if you have the implication of some music.
But I feel the modern horror movies heavily rely on sounds to give you the right jump scares.
Yeah, because there is that infrasound as a concept, right?
Yeah.
If you deploy infrasound, you can make people feeling uncomfortable. So a lot of modern films they deploy infrasound. But if the silent films have shown us something, it's that you don't really need sound. The Carl Theodor Dreyer's Joan of Arc sort of qualifies as a horror film in as much as it's about the horrific trial that Joan of Arc is in. Some people actually recommend watching it without sound, like no backing track or anything.
I see.
And I have seen it that way and it works. So sound is important, but sound is also an instrument, right? Like you deploy sound when you want to.
Totally. I feel, on the other hand, a good director filmmaker would rather use the silence really well to get to you rather than use sounds.
Yeah, because silence is still sound, right? It's contrast.
Yeah. And it's much more scarier.
It makes you feel very uncomfortable actually, the silence. It keeps you on your tenterhooks for when the sound will appear.
True.
So that was Hagzan. Don't fall for its age. It's a very fun film. I think it stood the test of time. It's 100 years old, and I think like even 100 years from now, people will be watching it and enjoying it.
It sounds a bit creepy, but something I'll definitely check out. The next movie that I have, I'm not sure if it really fully fits into our definition of Halloween movies, but for me, Halloween movies have always been about gore and about a slasher coming by to mess around with a group of teenagers. So this film really fits into that bucket to an extent. The movie is called Triangle, but I would still categorize it more on the spectrum of a psychological thriller horror movie. So the movie basically starts with us being introduced to the protagonist. She's called Jess, and she's along with her son who's scared about something, and she's trying to calm him down. After the opening credits go away, we're introduced to a group of folks who are sitting in a sailing boat on a marina. They seem to be waiting for other people to come by, and this is where we get introduced to the crew that we're going to be seeing throughout the movie. And the last person to arrive into this crew is Jess, and she definitely just seems out of it. She's been through something, her hair's all messed up, but she apologizes to the main person, and their sea voyage starts. And this is where we are shown that the name of this small sailboat, it's called Triangle. So they set sail. We are shown a weird dream that Jess has where she's cast away onto the beach. She wakes up and then goes back onto the deck of this sailing boat. Everyone's a little confused because she was supposed to get her child to this picnic or trip of theirs, but she has not, and they're not sure why. And she's been very avoidant about this whole question. This boat leads into a specific section of the sea.
Does it have anything to do with the Bermuda Triangle? I've seen this film, but it's been a while.
And you're very much right. Bermuda Triangle is something that they kind of introduce here. The winds around them stop. There is nothing helping them sail this boat altogether. But it really gets creepy all of a sudden, and they see a huge storm approaching them. They try contacting the Coast Guard and whatnot. They get no reply. All of a sudden, they themselves start getting a distress signal from a lady, and this person saying, "Someone's killing everyone on the boat." Things start getting creepy as they see a storm approaching them. They luckily have life jackets for everyone. There's a nice stormy scene where the boat topples upside down. They somehow survive. They get on top of the boat. Storm goes away. They see a huge ocean liner boat approaching them, and this boat is basically called Aeolus. And as the boat approaches, they see one person standing on like the deck of the boat, but that person vanishes very mysteriously. And it's shot in a way that the light's behind the person, so you don't really see the person's face or anything. As the boat gets closer, these folks climb onto the boat. For an ocean liner, this boat is very weirdly empty. And they start going through this boat, try to explore. They actually come across a lot of different regalia of the boat, and they realize this boat is actually way back in the history somewhere. It's not really a recent boat. And then there's also a small discussion about how Aeolus is a name from Greek mythology, where I believe he's the god of winds. He's related to Sisyphus in some specific way, where it's this dude who basically keeps...
Yeah, rolling the boulder up the hill.
Yeah. And I think that has a good connotation or connection back into the movie. But this is where the horror or the weird slasher aspects comes in. They start seeing weird things. Items left here and there in the boat which don't really belong there. Blood splatters in the wrong places. Someone walks in the corner of their eye. There is a mirror with something written on it or with blood. And this soon leads into a proper chase where a masked individual on this ship is trying to get all of these folks. What results after this is a slasher movie, but at the same time, a lot more than that. And the movie itself keeps evolving. And what I've described is probably not even the one, like the first one third of the movie. It really has a lot of revelations to kind of come onto it. All the killing eventually leads to a rather weird ending. The director deliberately keeps it open ended for us to look at. But I was absolutely confused when I watched this movie. I had no clue what was happening. Midway through, I'm asking questions. Like, this is one of the movies where if you watch with a group of five friends of them, each one of them is gonna have
It
a.
can make for like a good group discussion
Yeah.
kind of thing after the film.
Like, even in the middle of it, everyone's gonna have different opinions. You can actually, if you forgot to do your gambling during Diwali, this is a good time to do gambling on this movie where you can discuss what the plot's headed towards. And maybe some of you are right, maybe you're not. But it's interesting in the sense that you get the slasher horror throughout, while the movie keeps annoying you in your head that you yourself have zero clue about what's happening in here. What it becomes towards the end is rather sad, and you will be left with questions even afterwards that are not answered. I won't be surprised if you won't sleep that night, not out of the horrorness of the movie, but out of the idea that it just left you with too much to think about.
This film it has some similarities, like some sort of thematic similarities to a Spanish film called Los Cronocrímenes, Time Crimes. On the outset, it's about time travel. I really think the director had this in mind.
You're probably right, because now that I just googled the Los Chronocriminis, the slasher looks very similar. The way they put on their masks is very, very similar between the two movies.
It's a really good film, but the I've been waiting for the director to make something on the same level for a long while now.
Yeah, I watched Terrifier recently, which nice low budget slasher movie, but just at the end of the day, you're just happy to watch it and get out of there, while Triangle will definitely leave you with some questions to worry about.
I remember watching it, having seen it, but like it's been a long while.
I watched it a long time ago, but the way the movie works just stuck with me. Yeah.
It left a mark. I think the reason it didn't leave a mark on me is because I had seen Time Crimes.
I see. I also don't trust when they show horror movies on TV because they cut a good amount of stuff for no reason.
No, this is in the before times, before they started censoring shit like crazy. Like after 10:30 or something, they'd show
Ah,
heavy stuff. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. It's from those times. It's nice times. So I feel one of the kings of horror cinema is John Carpenter, who is the director of The Thing and Halloween and the film that I want to talk about, which is In the Mouth of Madness. This is sort of one of his lesser known films, but I really love it because it pays homage to two of my favorite horror authors, Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft. And it's sort of a good melding of the two, you know. The thing about Lovecraft is a lot of his stories are sort of investigative.
Hmm.
Like someone is investigating something and then they realize they have encountered horrors beyond comprehension.
Right.
It's a very nice trick he uses to get out of describing
Hmm.
anything and leaving it to the viewer's mind, because his protagonists are like, what I witnessed is too scary to describe that. And Stephen King, of course, is the modern master of horror. I mean, there is no modern horror without Stephen King. Like, you can feel his DNA and stuff, like, I would say, as disparate as Jurassic Park to something like Haunting of Hill House. So, Stephen King is quite influential. So, basically, this film is about an insurance investigator played by Sam Neill of Jurassic Park fame. He is hired to track down a horror author with a massive fan following and craze called Sutter Kane.
Hmm.
Now, Sutter Kane is basically a sort of riff on Stephen King. He has gone missing before delivering his next manuscript, and nobody is able to find him, and they're calling in the insurance money. So the publishing house tells Sam Neill's character that we can't find him, and he doesn't buy their bullshit. He just thinks that they're using his supposed disappearance to drum up anticipation and hype for his next book. So he doesn't buy it. So he sets out to track Sutter Kane, and he's accompanied by Sutter Kane's editor, who genuinely believes that he's gone missing. So they find clues on his book covers
Hmm.
that lead to a map, and they sort of follow that map to the mouth of madness, I guess, to a village where this village is sort of like it's got one foot in the supernatural. I don't want to spoil it, but there is this imagery of a they're going on a highway, and then they encounter a cyclist, and then a few miles ahead they encountered the same cyclist, but he's older now, and then they drive farther and he's like an old man cycling,
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's very loopy. Basically the village that they've come to has references to a lot of Sutter Kane's work. Slowly they find Sutter Kane, and he reveals, I mean it's not very spoilery to reveal this, but his last book, his next book, is basically going to be apocalyptic.
Hmm.
And slowly the insurance agent character starts to believe in the cult of Sutter Kane. It's a fun movie. It's one of my favorite genres, which is like an investigative horror.
Right. I can basically sense this very similar plot from Call of Cthulhu over here. Like someone's missing, someone's hired to go find him, and then
Yeah, and then suddenly like you start losing your sanity pretty much. Like that's the hallmark of a Lovecraftian story.
Mhm.
You start losing your sanity, and this sort of winks at that a little bit. It's fun. It's a fun film. There are gross creature effects. There are spooky children, which elevates any horror film. It's like if you want an intro to Lovecraftian storytelling, this is a great one. And Sam Neill is see the thing is, if you only know Sam Neill from Jurassic Park, you don't know that he has a whole ass career of being insane in movies. So this is one of those great Sam Neill going insane performances.
interesting.
He's terrific at playing the madman. And John Carpenter is the undisputed master of horror. I mean, you must have seen I mean, if you are a horror fan, you must have seen The Thing, and maybe Prince of Darkness and Halloween, of course. Yeah, this one, it is not the greatest John Carpenter. That honor would still remain with The Thing, but this, I believe, is the most fun John Carpenter film.
Nice.
So yeah, In the Mouth of Madness.
I absolutely love Lovecraftian movies. Very questionable writer, author on his own on the side, but
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah. I mean, if he weren't racist, we wouldn't be getting these works, to be honest.
I agree.
Like,
But I at the same time I love what a lot of recent black authors have done to owning Lovecraftian, where they have
like Lovecraft Country, then Ballad of Black
I
Tom,
love Ballad of Black Tom.
which I haven't read.
Absolutely fantastic book, but basically they are using the white supremacist and their ideologies and their hate towards black people through a Lovecraftian horror way. Like they don't know where it's sprouting from or whatnot, but it still affects them nonetheless. That being said, a very nice Lovecraftian book to read by Neil Gaiman, another questionable author, is A Study in Emerald.
Yeah, that's a terrific book.
It's basically Sherlock Holmes' adaptation from A Study in Scarlet, but this time it's Emerald, based on a Lovecraftian universe.
The thing about Lovecraft, right? Like a lot of his contemporary fans, as in like the people he used to answer letters to and all. I mean, you could describe him as a white supremacist,
Absolutely.
but his fans during his time were Jews and homosexuals, pretty much.
The intersectionality is crazy.
Yeah, and he would maintain like correspondences with them. So I mean, he's a weird fucking guy, man.
I recently read a novella where the plot was three black women are hunting down the Klansmen. At the very last, towards the end of the book, they just say there's a new mission for these hunters. And it's like there's a guy living in Maine who writes these wondrous things that get these Klansmen all raving about. And that's like a very small hint towards Lovecraft. But even the book I read, it's called Ring Shout, has a whole Lovecraftian horror theme to it.
His horror is very potent because ultimately it's about like it really personifies that you have no agency in this world. So I find that angle of horror very potent.
Totally.
Let's just quickly recount the list. So I started with the films of Nuha Shumayun, mainly Pet Kata Shah.
Then we went to Romancham.
Hagzan, which is 100 years old and thriving on YouTube.
Then we went to Triangle, a psychological thriller horror movie from 2009.
The last one was In the Mouth of Madness by the great John Carpenter. And that is a great playlist for your Halloween party, or if you're home alone wanting to feel spooky, you can just put these on and you'll have a great Halloween.
We'll definitely make a letterbox list out of this, which you can find in the description.
So that was another episode of 8mm Syndicate's Hit List. Follow us on socials, tell about us to your friends, rate and review us on whichever podcast platform you prefer.
Stay spooky.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.